Hello YouTube, this is a video to show you how I build my planter pot. The dimensions of it is 80 by 40 centimeters, but using this method you can build pretty much any size you want. I will have exact dimensions of the cuts that I made somewhere along the video, so please make sure you watch the whole video till the end. I got 6 times 2.5 meter wood, which was pretty cheap. Actually it was 2.4 meters, and I had to sand down some of them. I only sand down the side that it's gonna be visible to human eye, so I didn't sand the inside bit. For this I use Orbital Sander, and I will post the link in the description if you want to get the same Orbital Sander. It can be done with using a sandpaper, but it's much quicker using an Orbital Sander. So here I'm sanding the front face of it. As I said, I only sand one side if it was needed to, because this is the side that's going to be visible. Got a little helper here. Now she's counting the sandpaper. I built actually those bricks for her to play with, because she likes wooden toys, and I'm sanding down also those small pieces for her. Okay, we got some dancing performance here. After she tests if it's strong enough, we'll be ready to continue with the planter. Okay, now I painted all the timber. I painted the full length of it before I actually cut it, because I think it's much easier to do it this way. I'd rather paint 6 pieces than all these cuts that I made and paint everything individually. It's much easier. Because I sanded them previously, I had to wipe them. I wipe them with a cloth, a microfiber cloth. Also, I dust them a bit with a brush, because really when you want to paint it or treat the wood, you don't want all the dust there, because you want the paint go into the wood rather than stick to the dust pieces. I use a wood preserver. which got no color to it. It's basically clear. If you have a big container of a paint, it's always better to put it to something small, because in case you spill, you really don't want to spill. In my case, 5 liters of paint. So always put it to a small container. Not that it ever happened yet, but you know, better safe than sorry. When I'm painting the wood, I always paint the short or the thin side first, both of the sides, because then it's just easier to flip the wood around without getting your hands dirty. This paint, it's actually preserver, so it's water based and the wood absorbs it really quickly. It's got virtually no odor. It's really easy to spread, and because it's clear, it's hard to see where you painted, but if you look towards the light, you'll see which part of wood is wet. The second coat is much harder. I actually painted 2 coats of this paint. The first coat dry within between hour and 2 hours. If you want 2 coats, you actually have to do it within those 2 hours, because then the paint dries inside the wood and doesn't absorb as deep as it would normally. So as I said, I'm painting the edges first, and then I paint the thicker side. I'm not going to bore you with this, and I'm going to speed up the video. It was pretty hot outside, so in 1 hour I was able to put the second coat. It's always advisable to do 2 coats just to get better protection. For cutting the timber, I'm going to use a circular saw, but you can use also a regular hand saw. The circular saw obviously helps to speed up the process, and I'm going to have a link in the description. It wasn't very expensive, so if you're planning on doing a few things, I recommend to get one. I'm also going to use a tool which I made myself, which is a saw guide that just helps you to make the nice straight cut every single time. Because this is the first time I'm actually using this saw guide, I'm going to have to check if it cuts straight and if everything is aligned. As you can see here, I attach a small wire to the saw just to keep the blade cover up all the time, and I'm making a few test cuts. And just a quick disclaimer, please, for your own safety, you should always use gloves, goggles. I am taking no responsibility if something happens to you. Okay, so I'm happy with all the cuts. They're nice and straight, and I'm ready to measure and cut the timber. I'm using a very fine blade here. I think it's 42 or 48 teeths. I'm gonna post a link in the description. It didn't come with the saw. I bought it separately. It just makes a nicer cuts, straighter cuts. It does produce more rubbish. That's not a problem. I'm just gonna put them right in the compost. The wood chipping and the sawdust, it's really good for compost. Okay, so all the pieces are cut. Now it's time to paint the edges. I painted previously the whole wood, so I don't need to do that, but I still will have to paint the edges where I just freshly cut. Again, I'm gonna apply 2 coats. Okay, so everything is dry. Now it's ready to put it all together. Before I just force the screw into the wood, I'm pre-drilling a holes. I know it's a long process and some people might say it's not necessary, but to avoid any splits in the wood, I'd rather pre-drill the holes. And to speed up the process, I made a small template which helps me to put the holes always in the right place. Okay, once I pre-drilled the holes for the first frame, I attached the screw and I put it all together. So now I'm just screwing those bits together. Okay, so I'm laying the second frame on top of it just to see how it looks. And not to make any mistake, because as you can see the screws will have to go on the short piece now. So I'm pre-drilling the holes again on both sides, and then I'm just gonna fix them together. So I run the screw so they just poke out of the wood, then I put and hold those pieces together and tighten them in. I'll make sure that I apply enough pressure so they close together and they make a tight fit. So I just screw halfway till the screw pokes out, push it together and tighten it. Okay, as you can see, this is not very straight, but I don't want to be sticking out, so I'm going to fasten the screw while applying the pressure from the top to get it level. And that's it, that's 2 frames done. Now I'm just going to basically repeat the process. Now I'm going to pre-drill all the holes in one go. It's much easier and faster. just to show you what happens if you just, without pre-drilling any holes, you're gonna force the screw in. I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but this is a possibility, and we try to avoid this. You see the wood just crack. Okay, so all the holes are pre-drilled, and I'm just gonna run the screws. But before I do that, I'm gonna put my knee guard. If I find a link, I'll post in the description. I got them only recently. I used previously some other ones, but those are really good. Those are gel ones, and they're nice and soft. And I ran out of battery. Luckily I've got another drill with 2 batteries this time. However, even this ran out of juice because I haven't charged it. Okay, so this is sped up 8 times. I'm not as fast as I look. Okay, that's the last frame. Then it's time to put it all together and see if everything is fine. Okay, so that's all the frames together. I made 6 of them. I'll see if I'm gonna use all the 6 because the planter looks quite big. Okay, I took them outside, and this is where I'm going to put 2 of the planters, 1 on each side of the door. Looking at the terrain, one side is slightly higher than the other one, so just to have them in one level, one planter is going to have 6 pieces and the other one 5 pieces. The good thing about this planters is that, as I said, they're very modular and you can build them to any height you want. The ground is very uneven, so I can't just put them on the floor, and I'm gonna have to dig some ground out. The reason I'm putting planters in front of the door, by the side of the door, because I had really hard times to maintain the lawn over there. Once I started digging, I realized why. It's basically just stones and building material, some clay, and there's no topsoil. They just lay the carpet on top of it. So it's a good thing me putting the planters there, because I would struggle to get the grass going. I'm having a really hard time just to dig this small piece out. Even though I only have 6 pieces of wood, basically enough for one planter, I'm gonna dig on each side of the door, so the hard job is done. And then when I get another wood, I just put the planter in its place. So now I'm digging on the other side. The ground is much lower there, so it's much more uneven. So I'm gonna have to dig some more there. Again, all the struggle. First I decided to only accommodate for the frame and just to dig a trench around the frame just so it's level, and that'll be it. But then I decided I'm gonna put some gravel underneath the planters because I don't really like the fact them being in a... My daughter came, she has to check everything, she had to check the length, is it correct?
Chodź zabrać siapkę, baba, bo jest horúco.
She likes to be involved all the time.
Chodź zabrać siapkę.
Oh, what is
Bublina,
this?
pozri. Widzisz bublina?
Okay, now she wants to check if it's level.
Daj.
Okay, she thinks it needs more digging.
No poď, tu mám meter za sebou, som zobral už, poď.
And she refused to leave the place.
No poď. No poď.
Okay, checking for strength.
Nechoď tam, nechoď tam, nechoď tam. Bamba. No poď.
Okay, so now I'm just gonna cut a few pieces of wood to hold the frames together. I'm just gonna attach it to the bottom frame and to the top frame. As you can see, she's trying to get out and help me. Or maybe she's not happy with the way I'm working. Again, I'm just pre-drilling the holes and before I run the screw. Those 4 pieces is basically just to hold all the frames in line. I could attach every single frame onto this piece, but I don't think it's necessary. And again, if I decide to lower the planter down, it's not going to be such a big deal. them out. As I said before, and I haven't finished, I wanted to just leave it as is. Plants are resting on the ground. You know, I didn't like the fact that it's going to be, the wood be constantly in moist conditions. You know, it will be sitting on the mud, on the ground. Obviously, it's treated and the wood protects the paint. It's protecting the wood and it's waterproof. But still, I didn't like the fact. So I decided to put some gravel underneath it. Still just attaching those 4 pieces of wood. Okay, so I decided to dig slightly more around and put some stones and even decorative stones. Okay, so this is how the planter would look in front of the main door. Because I didn't have much gravel, I placed a box in the middle, so when I pour the gravel around, it doesn't go into the middle of the planter. Now I put the planter on top, add some more gravel. This box prevents the gravel to go inside into the middle of the planter. I mean, I could have covered the whole area with the gravel, then again I didn't have so much gravel. Okay, I lined the planter from inside with the black rubber bin bags, and I left the bottom open for the drainage. As I promised, those are the dimensions of the timber. It's 6x89 by 38 by 2040 millimeters, which I cut to pieces. 6x80 centimeters, 6 pieces of 72.5 centimeters, 6x40 centimeters, and 6x47.5 centimeters. I think from the video it's obvious how I put it all together, but if you have any question, please comment below and I'll get back to you. So that's bag number 2. I'll make them overlap inside. Again, you don't need to use the liner, but it's healthier for the wood and the planter will last longer. Okay, so this is how it looks like. You see the middle doesn't have no gravel. And now I'm gonna cover the bottom with all the rubbish that I dug out, just to save on soil, because 80 by 40, that's a lot of soil if I would want to fill the whole planter with the soil. And I don't know what I'm gonna put into this planter, but it's not gonna be nothing like deep rooted, and I'm just gonna put good soil on top. Then I put the bottom layer of the rubbish that I dug out, and also I laid on side some big pieces of the carpet that I dug out, and in the middle I put compost or food waste that we're collecting and making compost. So this is how it looks. As you see, the bottom is covered and the sides, I laid some carpet on the sides, and this is the compost, or basically the food waste, which I fill the whole planter halfway with that, and then I top it off with the topsoil. There's no smell whatsoever because it's covered with the topsoil. I had previously really good experience with filling up the planters with the same technique, basically some rubbish, some dirt, and then some compost, and then top it up with the soil. I've done one planter, slightly different method, in the rear garden, and planted literally just one tomato plant, and which I grew from seed, and we have like literally 100 small cherry tomatoes on it. They all get nutrition from the compost, and they're really healthy and they taste really good. So maybe further down the line I'm going to post a video on that. You can see the gravel around it. It's just a standard building gravel. That's the other side, the other planter. I've done it a similar way. Also, I put some decorative slate on the gravel so it just looked nicer. I only bought one bag, which was plenty. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please thumbs up, and please subscribe for more DIY projects.